All right, first up, we have public input. Any public input? I'll keep it open for a half hour. If anybody comes along in a half hour, I will allow them time to speak. We've got the 2025-26 budget work session. Terry, if you
Just want to go quickly through these. We want to speak to them. How would you like to do this, John?
just high level.
High level.
If somebody's obviously got questions when you go through, then we'll.
Okay, budget objectives. We do have 3 objectives this year. Before we start though, I know that the board had asked me to look into vans. The RSA changed on who can drive a van, and I'm gonna be brutally honest with you, no one can give you a correct answer. The state police are saying one thing, attorneys are saying another. So I can tell you that I know of 3 districts that have bought vans and they're parked because they're scared to drive them. Because nobody knows clearly what's what. Yeah, so I'm just not, so that gets figured out. I'm not going down that road. I do have 3 initiatives this year, a curriculum coordinator, an SRO, part-time student support service secretary. You do have enrollment comparisons in your book, summaries by department, summaries expressed by object code, detail expense by object code, wage pool salaries are in there.
Did we get a resolution on the wage pool salary?
I think it's because my salary was taken out because we already know what I'm making next year. So that was
I have a different, okay, I'll reach out later at a different time. Thank you.
co-curriculars by salaries, the debt schedule for the middle school, the EEI lease agreement payment schedule, and policy IOC for class size. So that helps us guide us when we're looking at projected enrollments for next year. Any questions on that? Okay, I guess we're up to Pat, right?
Yes. Come on up, Pat.
Evening.
Evening, Pat.
Where would you like me to start?
Dealer's choice. Dealer's choice.
Okay, in that case, then, before I go into one specific budget, I just want to talk about what I do as a whole. Just go back a little bit, give a little bit of history.
Sure.
Because there might have been a last year with the after school program. So, in 2018, when we presented the before school program as a budget initiative, it was because at that point, the grant was only 65% of what we were receiving. So there was a significant amount that had to be made up by the district, and that's why we take in the revenue we do. But every year there was a pretty significant shortfall between expenses and revenue. So we decided to take on the before school program to help balance that out. So when you're looking at my budgets, I would say don't look at the before school program and their expenses and revenue in one hand, and then leave expenses and revenue in the other hand. Just look at this is what PATH program spend and PATH program take. So with that said, let's talk about the before school program first, because that one has a big change. First, for revenue, you'll see that increased by $15,000. That is because we added another staff person to be able to take in 10 more kids. We did this because this year our program filled up in 3 days. And when I looked at it and looked at the picture, we had about 15 kids who were in the program last year who hadn't gotten it yet. And I thought that was wrong. So I went to Terry and I said, here's what would happen if we were to hire another person. We would actually bring in more revenue than we would be spending. So that's why next year's revenue is at 75,000, and we are actually doing that this year, so we can expect similar results this year as well. So that brought the salary line up from $23,580 to $34,575. We increased the supplies by $700. And all the increases to go with the security and all that stuff. So we're looking at expenses of $42,020 for the before school program with anticipated revenue of $75,000 for that program. Do you have any questions about the before school program?
You raising your finger for a question, Tony? Or, okay, which is fine. I just didn't want to miss a steel base sign. How many students do you have in the before school program?
We're at 50, I want to say 52 52 now. I know Terry said keep it at 50, but we have some siblings.
Terry who?
Would have never remembered that, Pat, so you should just put on with 52.
Terry said 52 all along. And is that what you had when you began, or the 50 number?
Nope. So when we began, we had set a ceiling of 40 because there were just two of us. So we decided a 20-to-1 ratio, given what the
Yep.
program is and what it entails, was appropriate. So when we hired the third person,
Oh, you've already hired the third person. I thought that was for, okay, which is fine. I'm just trying to understand because,
and like I said, this was one because I feel like I made a mistake. I feel like I was letting the families down when I looked at them. I said, these people have been with us for years that I'm talking about. Right now, I gotta try to fix that. So thankfully, we were able to do that for most.
yeah, I just
So I still have a
misunderstood.
waiting list, but most of the kids from last year.
How much of a waiting list?
Was that,
How much of a waiting list?
I want to say there's 8 on there right now. I just got 2 more in last week.
The reason I'm asking the questions is, would it make sense to potentially add a person for next year? Or even this year?
So the reason why we wanted to cap it
Yep.
at 50 is because, especially in the winter time, that cafeteria is gonna get cramped. Kids are gonna have
So you have space limitations.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
say space limitations is the reason.
Okay. It's not a it's space.
If we were able to hire another person, it wouldn't be a people thing, but that's also a wild card. The reason I'm there every morning is because we couldn't hire anyone. Like, that was never supposed to be my responsibility, but
It is what it is now, huh?
if
Yeah.
if I wasn't there, there wouldn't be, so.
All right. Thank you, Pat. Anything else for the before school program?
All right, moving on to the after school program, which that one, again, a little bit of history. If you look at 21-22, that very last year, the actual revenue was $38,558. That was the last year of our grant cycle where we were charging a lot more because we were getting a lot less from the state. In 22-23, that's when we got our new cycle, so that you consider year 1. That's when they changed the rules, we'll say. The grant got bigger and they will not be taking any money away from us now. So we've reduced the fees because principals of the philosophy of that grant is about making money or anything like that. It's really to help the needy families in town. So you'll notice as we go up that we did budget, we kept it at 40,000. That was an oversight for this year. We brought it down to 25,000. Last year, we did overextend quite a bit, but again, that's why I wanted to give the history of why the before school program is in place. Even with the over expenditure on the LEAP side, there was so much money taken in on the before school program side that we still made money off of the programs together. Right now we have it at 25,000. We have the expenses all in the contracted services line that honestly could go into any line of what we do with the after school program. We choose the contracted services line because when dealing with the state, if we use grant money for that, there's that we have to go through some hoops we have to jump through. So just doing that on the district side makes it easier on both ends. That's where we're at with the after school program. Not really any changes. Questions on that one?
Of course, I have one.
Of course.
Of course. Wouldn't want to let you down, Pat. How much of a percent is the 25 of the actual program? I'm asking.
So I couldn't give you I can do the math. I guess
It's right. If you give me the number, what the total budget is, I can do it
total
myself.
budget is 330,000 for both sites combined. The reason why we put.
Wait a minute. Be both what?
Both combined.
So before and after.
55 Oh, wait, what?
Both
Did you say before?
sites.
Oh, sites.
Sites.
Okay. I
So
thought you
elementary
said,
School and middle school.
all right. Thank
So
you.
Each site for after school gets 160.
So it's less than 10%.
Yeah, and the reason we put that there is because we are charging the fees. They're very nominal. And it's the expectation that the revenue we take in will match the expenditures that we make.
Go ahead, Tony.
Are both before and after school programs capped at 50 students each? Do we go?
No, so if you want last year's number and this year's current number for the after school program, I can give you that right now. So last year at the middle school, our weekly average attendance was 72.84 and our daily average attendance was 54.12. This year, we're down a little bit at the middle school. It's 63.5 for weekly and 47.68 for daily. At the elementary school last year, our weekly average attendance was 96.26 and our daily average attendance was 79.12. And this year, again, it's down very small. The elementary school is 94 for weekly and 75.03 at the elementary school. And we do a sliding scale fee for that. So if they qualify for free or reduced lunch, it's half of what we charge. If they get referred to by guidance, it's so if guidance feels that a child needs to be in this program for the services we provide, then we do not put any barriers in the way of that. We just get them the information, either have them connect with guidance themselves or send them to me if they think it's appropriate.
Can you just quickly explain what type of services you would provide for a student that's referred to you like that?
Yep. So let's give you our schedule. We provide snack at the beginning of the program. First hour is academic support. So if they have homework, we have certified teachers in there to help them out with the homework. If not, they're doing other academically challenging activities. Second half is enrichment, which that one can span anything, recreation activities, STEM, music, art. Try to get as much input from the kids as we can because, you know, it's their program. If they don't do the things that they want to do when they're there, they're not going to want to be there. So that just makes it harder on everyone. And then we do have 45 minutes to an hour between the end of enrichment and when we close, where it's just kind of.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else for Pat? I told you we had the speed up front. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
All right, next up. Service, is that right?
So quick question, this is a replacement for what's in the binder? The add-on?
Yeah. And the enrollment one is actually, we didn't have, so.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a replacement just because as I was looking over, you can't really see all of the numbers.
That's right.
The
That's
total.
why.
Because when he said there were changes, I was like, what do you mean? there
No,
were
no changes that, the printout, there were changes that didn't print right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna try my best with this one. Well, we're kind of without a food service director. So the first thing up is the food service director salary and the wage pool for that person. Halfway down the page, we have elementary school food, middle school food, high school food, and the district-wide function salary. We round up the salary and then we have the stuff at the bottom of the page. So total salaries have gone up about $4,000. Page 2 is where we have the health, dental, life, disability, social security at the bottom of page 2. And 3 at the top is teachers, non-teacher retirement. Total salaries and benefits is around about $60,000.
The health insurance, I'm assuming it's just because people have come and gone.
People have changed, yeah, where people have moved and coming and going.
Thank you. Any,
At the bottom of page 3, we have, food equipment repairs. So we have decided to leave those the same. As you can see, in fiscal year 23-24, there was a big amount for middle school food repairs for last year. That was because the boiler inside of the steamer had failed and we had to pay to get that fixed. So it was about $20,000 for that. Page 4, we have the maintenance contracts, service contracts for equipment. The reason why they are going up this year is because the current vendors that are using are expected to be retiring this year. And we were quoted that if the company that either buys them out or the new company will probably be dealing with is going to be more money. And the high school is more money because that's where we have more equipment at the high school, the food service department. So they told us that's going to be about that amount. No change in food service communications or food mileage reimbursement. General supplies down at the bottom of page 4. I took the actuals for fiscal year 24 and added the CPI increase of 3% to get us to where we are for right now.
which one?
I'm sorry.
You added 3% to which?
to the supply lines and the products.
The whole thing. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So this food service contract,
Mhm.
that's quite a jump. What did you say the reason was?
The vendors that we currently have for those contracts are expected to retire. They're the quote that we got from either the company that will more than likely be taking it over, or that company will more than likely be taking on those people's clients, quoted us that amount. It was something that Tasha's been working on for the past couple of months.
Do you know what the vendor is?
I don't know.
It's like one vendor for like all the public schools, or what is it?
It's typically
There's no competition really?
not really.
This is just for the maintenance of the equipment.
Oh,
Like
like
they're-
maintenance of the
Yes.
equipment. I was
Yeah.
thinking food and all that.
Right, no, so there might be people,
Maintenance, if you
Right.
need help with.
Yeah, some
maintenance.
breaks or something.
So they charge one price and then you can
Right.
call them.
and they come in and they maintain them. I
Okay.
want to say like
It's like
twice a year.
The hoods, those don't
Hmm.
have to be cleaned.
Oh,
The ovens need to be serviced. The
okay.
burners need to be cleaned, so that type of stuff. The continuing, routine maintenance.
Okay.
Do they maintain the fire suppression too, or is that a separate?
Somebody else, that might be,
That
one
might
of
be
Todd's.
through facilities.
Odds, yeah,
So that will
probably.
probably be coming up tomorrow night.
Hold that thought. Okay.
Did I answer your question, Cindy?
Yes, well, answer more than like,
Page 5, we have the propane that we use. So what I do up to propane bill and electricity is I take an average of 3 years of gallon usage or wattage usage. And then, so for the propane, for instance, I took a 3-year average gallon. And then I added 20 cents over our actual propane costs that we have right now.
And is that the methodology you've used in the past and it seemed to have worked?
That was in place actually way before me, so. And it seems to work, like, especially if you look at those lines. You can see for the most part, they're pretty consistent. Vending machine products, I did the same thing that I did for the office supplies and the food products. I took the fiscal year 23-24 actuals and just added the CPI of 3%.
And that's the vending?
District-wide food service software that is for our purchase of service program that we have. That's what the kids use when they go through the line. And so that software itself, we got the quote from our actuals for I took what our fiscal year 25, because sometimes we already know what we paid for 25 because we pay for those at the beginning of the year. So I took what we actually paid for this year and added the 3%, because that's actually what they told us it will be for next year. Page 5, it was suggested that we keep those lines the same as they were the previous year. So $200 for new equipment for elementary school, middle school, and high school.
What, sorry, quick question.
Go ahead.
What are those lines supposed to cover for new equipment at 200?
If they had like NutriBullets or like little blenders and stuff like that.
Small stuff, yeah.
Small stuff, small equipment. That's why they're here and not in this.
Not the other.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of low. That's what I was asking.
Spatula.
special for $200 for the gold
One.
one.
Golden spatula.
One,
It's a government spatula.
you might need another one.
Page 6. We left those the same as well, $400. And then the dues and fees. That is the dues for the New Hampshire Buyers Group. So we're in a group with other New Hampshire companies, and basically we get a discount on certain things for being a part of it. And then it's also for the staff to get their school nutrition association. So overall, I'm looking at the budget is down about $40,000.
Questions, comments for food service in this case? Thank you, Marjorie.
Thank you.
Next up, technology, Matt?
Wonderful.
Oh, let me get there, Matt, sorry. So, sorry, I always typically take over the salaries and the benefit pieces before I let them jump in.
Can I
Go ahead,
ask one
Tony.
question quick? How many people, does that salary cover?
Which one?
So,
The total salaries?
so the first one is one,
One is, okay, the director, right?
Yep.
Director.
But under,
and then the district-wide technology salary, that is a reduction of one person.
So we went from
how
4
many
to 3.
people?
Thank you.
That
From 4 to 3.
That covers 3 people.
We went from 4
So-
to 3.
4,
No, 3.
total of 4, plus the
Oh,
technology.
yeah. 3 plus 1 is 4. I got count that, I guess.
Hit the curveball. Don't do that to me. Only if they want, you tell them all the time. I can't do it.
Oh, we're moving, Terry, we're moving.
Throw a monkey wrench in it somehow.
Tech health insurance, so when I go.
Before you go on,
So does that cover everybody?
to be clear, that 147 is with the reduction of one person.
Correct.
Okay. And I'll ask the question of Matt, you're comfortable with that reduction?
Yes.
His suggestion, not mine.
No, I just want to make sure everybody clear. Thank you. Go ahead, Steve.
So I'm gonna ask this very short question, and if it's a very sticky answer, we can talk after, I suppose, but why did we go down from 4 to 3?
Go ahead, Matthew.
Well, so right now, how I have this department structured is I sit here at the high school with Cam, who's the database guy. We also have a high school tech sitting here. So there's 3 of us sitting in one room, which really isn't needed all day. And then, to be honest with you, if you look at our ticketing system, there's just, it would be better if me and Cam or even the high school tech kind of rotated around each building. The elementary school is a little less tech than other schools, so I think that, over the years, since a lot of technology also is cloud-based now, there's a lot less, we get a lot less tickets than when I started here. And I think a lot of the time I was trying to find so many tasks to give my guys that it just became busy work. So I think that it was something I thought of when I became the boss, and I talked to, a couple people on my team, and we kind of all agreed. So, that's kind of why.
So I'm hearing you guys got so good, you only needed,
I mean, I wanted to say that.
that's what I heard.
But you read what you want.
What I heard was he does the work at 2 people.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
It is not going down once to the phone yet, but yeah.
All right, I was just curious.
Once.
That's a really.
Helen. What's your number? Oh, wait, what's your number one job? I always tell you.
Phone in and out.
That's it, baby. If after that, we can roll, we can have the day.
Beat up on that. I mean, it will be a lot more work for myself and obviously, the database guy will have to do a little bit of tech work again, like fixing Chromebooks, but we do that anyways, so it's not a big deal.
Yes, fun for them.
That's cool.
Bring them back to their,
Yeah.
where they started.
I think the word you're looking for is layer.
Layers.
Bring them back to their layer. That's awesome. Thank you.
So when I discuss health insurance and dental insurance and all that stuff, so that is basically based on our current enrollment of the people that we have here, plus the increase or decrease of what we receive. So the health, dental, and life insurance, that is our staff at their current rates, less that one person. Page 2, and that will round up the rest of the benefits. And then, third of the page down, Matt will take it over with district-wide technology training.
All right. So you want me to just go over which lines went up or down again? Is that,
Highlight what you want, and
all right.
obviously if something went up significantly, percentage wise.
Yeah.
Or down.
So the district-wide technology training and the next line, the technology consultant, they both went down. The first line, the training, that we had a program called CBD Nuggets. It was like online tech training. And to be honest, a lot of the guys, they've exerted the whole program. They've already used it all. So we kind of stopped using that. So that definitely something that was useful, but now I think nobody's really logging in and using it. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is we had in there was a lot of the Power School trainings, which a lot of that, I think we brought secretaries, I believe, and stuff like that. And they're all already went to the Power School University. And they're also in like Florida now, stuff like that. And I don't think a lot of people have the time to go, and no one's really asked to go for a while. So I did still leave money in that top line for that if they would like to do that, but that's why I went down there, 3,000. And then the technology consultant, that line was basically for if we had a major issue and we had to call a company to come in, but we have a lot of contracts now with the current service providers we have where they will come in. So we've never really had to use that. Especially with Extreme Networks, we just paid for warranty for all the switches to last this year. So I can call them with any support. So we've never really, I brought that down only because in the past years, I've looked at the budget and we've never used it. So I felt like leaving $10,000 in there was kind of just not needed for at least since we have all these maintenance contracts, I guess, when we purchase the services. The repair lines for each school, they all stayed the same. Changes there.
On the repairs.
Yep.
The three actuals that we have are ballpark 66, 64, and 2,400. And yet we're up at 10,750, 10,750. Do you anticipate being that high, even though the actuals for the last 3 years are significantly less than that?
Well, the reason, yes, only because we are buying larger Chromebooks now and the parts are more expensive. So, for example, we're buying 14-inch Chromebooks and the screens, what we used to do a lot, which is why it was a little lower, is we could swap the screens with other models because they were all 11-inch. But now they're a little bit harder to replace and we don't have as many of the 14-inch Chromebooks around. So I would say, yes, I think it would be more close to that 10,000.
And the 14 inches are going to, if memory serves me, the high school?
The high school, yeah.
Thank you.
The next line was tech support district-wide. That went up a little bit, mostly because that line is kind of how where we have Power School, the cloud hosting and the services cost, and those always go up each year. Next two lines stayed the same, as well as the general supply line. The biggest increase, I would say, is the software line. The reason for the increase there, so we added Branching Minds, which is a software that was launched for student support services. That's something we worked on getting launched. That is in there for next year. That costed around $15,000 for next year. So I added that into my software line. And then we also, when we added GoGuardian Teacher for more teachers to use, that increased the cost we paid for GoGuardian compared to the cost we were paying just to use the admin side. So we added those two, which were kind of big cost increases, and then as well as a lot of the software line just from vendor pricing goes up each year. So I wanted to make sure we had enough in there to cover the programs that we use now.
Go Guardian, how much is that costing us now that we pay more for the teachers, the difference?
So it's $12,000 now. And before, I think we were paying $9,972.
So about $2,000 difference.
Yeah, about 2-3.
And how many teachers are using that?
I would say actually a lot. When we rolled it out, we had them email us if they wanted access, just because, we bought enough licenses for the middle and high school, but with elementary, they didn't need it as much. So I would say about 90% of middle schools using it, and the high school teachers, about half. I think it kind of comes up in conversation more with the teachers, and then they email us and say, I want that too. So we did send an email out at the beginning of the year if they want to be able to use it. And then we do have some elementary school teachers as well that have asked, and since we've had extra licenses, we've let them use it. So I would say it's very well licensed.
Good return on the investment.
Yes, people love
Yeah.
being able to do that. And I think it helps with the technology issue.
Sure. Thank you.
The new equipment, we don't do anything with that. So in these replacement lines, a lot of them went down, for the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. And the reason for that, I'm sorry, the middle school stayed the same. The reason for that is because we were buying 4 Promethean boards for each school. And after the ones we bought this year, we don't need to do that anymore for right now, because I have the high school, besides one board, is completely has enough boards in each room now. There's no need to buy 4. As well as the elementary school, their boards come on carts, so they also have enough, besides I think 1 more from our inventory that, and if they need it, they can shuffle them around there. So honestly, buying 12 boards for next year would be a waste. So I decided to cut those down. The middle school is the only school that we still need like 4 more boards, so I left that at the same cost so we can buy all 4 boards. So that was the reason for the big decrease in those lines. And the other one, the SAU replacement, that went up 1,000 because that is for an SAU member to get a laptop. And if I buy Terry $1,000 laptop, he's gonna throw it at me. So I figured 2,000 is a little bit more reasonable to get a laptop.
And how much is a 11-inch Chromebook?
11-inch is $220
$30?
or so, 50. 14-inch is 230.
Okay. The question I've got is how many Chromebooks do we have? And I don't need you to, if you don't have it right now, that's fine.
Oh, I can get it.
Then
In
for
students,
students, if you've got it differentiated between 14-inch and 11-inch, that would be fine. My follow-up to that is non-students, what do we have out there and why do we have a difference?
so.
Now, what I'm driving at is we're buying all these computers
Yes.
and our customer is using a Chromebook. Everything is good for them. What do we need for the adults in the building that isn't, that a Chromebook wouldn't do for?
I got that all for you. So we have a total of 2,172 Chromebooks in our inventory, but that doesn't mean they're all fully signed, but that's how many we've registered in this software.
Is that for students?
That's for everyone.
You have it broken down by students though?
I could get you that, but
Yep, if you would, because my logic is how many students are using, how many do we have for students? And then how many of the adults using Chromebooks? And then how many are using Apples versus PCs versus this flavor of that flavor?
so
And
far,
try to, and then my request will be, can we standardize some of this so that we're not spending buku money on computers, which in my mind, unnecessarily spending big money on computers, because why aren't we using more Chromebooks? Go ahead, Tony.
I could speak to that a little bit as someone who requested a better computer, because the Chromebooks for anything other than checking email are really, if you're doing actual work, Chromebooks are not really conducive to that, in my opinion. it doesn't make it easy to do anything other than, like I said, check email or go to websites. It's really, they're not good for much more than that, in my opinion. Chromebooks.
Okay.
So if there was a textbook on there or something, that's great, but doing actual work, so especially the 11-inch,
And I can see administrators.
I can only speak for myself saying that.
Packages.
Yeah, no, for example, Marjorie needs a laptop because she's using Excel and expanding that, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But do everybody need to use a PC or a laptop or the grandest Chromebook? And I'm gonna venture a guess and say, not everybody needs those. The guess, educated guess, but.
Fair assessment.
But what I'm trying to drive at is if you could find, give us a list for the Friday memo or if it's available, yeah, whatever, Terry.
Yeah.
Just because you understand what I'm trying to drive at. And do we need everybody by having a more expensive computer? Because we've got anywhere from 2,300, it sounds like, to $2,000. And can those 2,000s be someplace in the middle, like 1,000 or even less? But
Yeah, well, I actually reached out to other directors for you on that question already for you about the Chromebooks.
and what they think Raymond should do?
No, I reached out to see how many districts are using Chromebooks for teachers or not using laptops.
I'm talking about adults, not
Yeah,
exclusively teachers. It's
Oh.
any adult in the
Well-
district.
I personally don't think the SAU could use a Chromebook, or principals. That would be a little difficult, but a lot of teachers could based off what they use in their software. So, for example, a lot of teachers use Google products, Google Docs, Google Sheets, all that stuff that you can use on a Chromebook. The hardest problem is going to be software compatibility, like science teachers using something that I don't know if it could, I'd have to check if all these programs can run on a Chromebook. But, and Microsoft Office is not very easily run on a Chromebook. You can use the online version, but it's not going to be the same. It's using like Excel or something like that. So,
Yeah, but again, how many people are using Microsoft product that need to use Microsoft product? I'll be honest, I don't like Google. And when I get home, I'm on my desktop, but that's my personal desktop. So
Yeah.
no expense to anybody but me.
Yeah.
But the question becomes, does everybody need what they have? And I'm not suggesting we take away right now. I'm saying if adult A in 2 years needs a new computer, revisit what they have and say, what's the threshold? What do we really need this person to have? Because when you start saying $2,000 computers, adds up real fast.
yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm just guessing if teachers want to make, we'll see, even say Halloween drawings or something like that, that a laptop can do a lot better job than a Chromebook can, using most of those if they want to type emails up to, get some sort of thing going on, where just like you said, we got
Using like Photoshop and stuff.
stuff,
Yeah, that,
anything like
yeah,
that.
that stuff on a Chromebook would be difficult.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So I noticed you have an Apple and you have an Apple. Are those your own personal ones or those? So you do Apple products in the district?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you only used Chromebooks and HPs.
It was, when I got here, they said, what do you want?
Oh, okay.
We have like only 3 Apples in the whole district, maybe 4 people. Not a lot of people have. Apple.
I just was curious because I know some people, it's like totally not Apple. So I kind of assumed
got
that it
used to
was
it.
on your own, but
I
it's
just got
not.
used to it, and then I was like, oh, you're gonna let me
Yeah.
not pick, I'll pick, but
In that information, if you could give us also your estimated, keyword being estimated, total worth of all the PCs we've got and Chromebooks in district, please.
PCs or
I have another
laptops?
question.
What's that?
PCs or laptops, that's 2 different things, right?
Sorry,
Most of
laptops.
Well, I mean,
No,
You're
you're
right,
fine.
because I have I have a desktop and I have a laptop.
I
Some
think
people
PC
have
had
a
a desktop.
laptop and they connect it, yeah.
That's fine. No,
I have a question.
I fall into that trap all the time. I also used to talk about Lotus, but that's another story for another day. Go ahead, Cindy.
Since I'm not here every day, so do you require the teachers to have, like, when they're here at school, they have to use the one that's given by the school? Or can they use?
Yeah.
Do they just like adopt it and this is what they use all the time now? Or, cause like personally, I use this for this one, I use mine for my stuff, I like kind of switch machines, but
We don't let the teachers use their own.
you don't let.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, if they go home, they can, yes.
Yeah,
But,
obviously.
but in the classroom, they have to use our laptops.
okay.
Just
So, and if they do anything like at school, like say they're making a worksheet or something, they have to use the school one.
their school laptop they have assigned.
Okay, so I'm just thinking about, I'm sure there's some teachers that just use it for the very basic stuff, and there's other teachers that probably use it for, maximum usage. Is there some sort of way that you could like poll each teacher to see what their needs are in a laptop?
Yeah, I could.
I mean, so that the people who aren't really using it for much, they could get the basic one. And then people who really want to go big on it, they can use a more, so you're not like buying everybody the top of the line, but you're kind of,
Yeah, I could look into that for you. A lot of the times we buy they're all the same model. So we try not, they're all the same specs, I guess. So when we buy new ones, they're newer model, but they're the same specs. We try and keep that pretty the same for each teacher.
Standard.
Cause some teachers are running on machines that are almost getting towards 5 years old. So what we normally do is when we buy the new ones, we would swap those teachers. So most people have the same spec machines besides maybe the computer teacher here, just because she's running like Photoshop, robotic software and stuff like that. But I could do that.
I just was curious because like he was saying is if you keep the cost down with.
Stephen and you. Good, Stephen. Then I got Tony.
So I think I'm hearing the question, the HPs, I would say of Chromebooks for the kids. Some teachers use Chromebooks, some
Parents do and lunch.
the
They
Chromebooks.
use.
So the HPs that we buy, those aren't $2,000 HPs.
No, those are 1,045.
Okay.
Give or take. Maybe a little less depending on how many we buy, but.
Okay, I just wanted, because I can understand, I know Apple products are more expensive, but so when you said 2,000, I was like, that can't be the HPs. Those gotta be cheaper.
No, that was for like
Just
like
a
for
fund.
example, a new Mac is $1,700 versus 1,000.
Right.
I wouldn't be buying that for the whole.
Not for everybody.
No.
All right, thanks.
What? Tony, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm good. Sorry.
Sorry, thank
Oh, I
you.
just was wondering where we are at with computers that, for the CAD.
Oh, we bought him.
We're Good?
Already bought him, baby.
They already have.
Day one, yes. Out of here, fired up this year. We'll take care of right away. September 1st, I said, dude, he's like, I'm on it, Terry.
They already have them in the cart and they're using them.
They're happy with those?
Yes, they're
Okay.
they're very nice models now.
Yeah.
Something you cannot use a Chromebook for.
Correct. No, I know. Yeah, I used to do CAD, so, yeah, I'm well aware.
And then there was one other thing Terry told me to look into, with the communications.
Yeah, you're gonna see that throughout the budget. He needs to explain that.
So there's a communications line. It's not in my budget.
It's not in yours.
But I was tasked with looking into it. So, just a quick summary, they're phone lines, like old school phone lines that run to each building, that copper old wires. So they're not anything to do with IP phones or anything like that. I worked with Todd and talked to him about it. So basically, the communications line has gone up substantially over the past couple of years.
Can
And
we get an example of where it is in the book so that we can actually look at a real life situation, please?
Let's go to, we'll use the middle school because they're up next. So if you go to the middle school, you go to page 7.
We had the same issue in the town, all the phone lines,
Yeah,
copper lines.
yeah, so 500, 531, or quarter down the page. You can see in 21, 22, we spent 15, 22, 23 came close to 15. Last year, it was at $30,000.
Mhm.
And this year I only budgeted for 18, just for that line. So you're going to see this at all three schools and the SAU. And what happened was, as I'm preparing the budget and getting ready for all of these, I'm looking at the First Light, I'm looking at the Comcast, I'm looking at all of the things that go into those lines, and the First Light has like skyrocketed out of price. So when we started working on the budget this year, I reached out to Matt and I was like, hey, can you look into these lines for me? Contact these vendors, because I don't understand why it's so astronomical this year. So he's been researching that for us to try to figure out where we need to go and how to fix it and what we can do in those lines, because it's a bit much.
Essentially, it's gonna come down to digital, get rid of copper lines, because there's no other way around it really that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Like I said, all the old phone lines around town, we had the same issue. The phone bill went to $30,000, like, what's going on here? Oh, copper lines, whatever that means, it's a problem.
Yeah, what does that
And,
mean?
yeah, it's a thing.
Go ahead, Steve.
It's, so I just want to make sure I'm following, because I think so, but it sounds crazy. We talking just old school phone lines?
Yep. Yeah.
Like phone, fax?
Well, we need one for the fax machine. All the alarm panels, fire alarm, they're all on the old school because they ring directly out.
So this isn't new equipment. This is just what they're charging us to use the service.
Yes, to continue to use the old primitive copper wire,
Because no one's using it. We're the only ones keeping the copper lines running.
apparently us in the town.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was
I'm
following.
going to take a look at the copier machines too, because right now there's a copper line going to that for fax.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a look, see if we can e-fax or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
And then Todd's going around too, taking a look at all the copper lines that we have. Do we really need them?
So yeah, like all the.
You know, I mean, let's just say we got 8 coming in here. I don't know. We're using 4. All right, so we're gonna drop the other 4 because there's no need for those. But we also, right, wrong or different, need a hotline in every building. I need an old fashioned phone line in every single building so that we could call out if we have to. If the internet's down,
Yeah, you need pots
I
line.
need the old fashioned bat phone.
Yeah.
If necessary. So, I mean, so there's still a need. You know, either there's 3 right there and 1 in each building that we need, and 4. We need 1 at the SAU too.
I'm laughing because I think I've said this before, but when we had the floods back ago and the building across from the VFW got flooded, phones were down, and then we said, we need this newfangled thing, cable.
Can we run the fax machines through like a Comcast phone line?
We're looking into it.
So we're looking at, yeah,
Go ahead, Joe.
that's nuts. Sorry.
Yeah, that doesn't, yeah.
I know at my work that, you know, you can run a copy machine and then you can fax to,
Yeah.
you know, the computer. You don't need the.
Big copper lines or?
I haven't got that far into the wall, but I don't think so.
It's 3 hamsters running a turn.
That's a huge, that we're gonna look at to cut those costs.
Yeah, that's huge.
It comes down to having to replace it or go digital or
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, it's the copper
Costly.
wires.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add for IT at this point? Questions, comments for Matt? Adding any into the above? Right. Thanks, Matt. All right, next up, Iowa Homeschool Middle School, Mr. Wald.
So now you guys can stay on your middle school tab. So page 1 is salaries. Teachers all broken out of what we have for current staff.
Not to get pain, can interrupt. Just ballpark or just give us a number of how many teachers that, or 2 million number, the teachers that covers that.
Once I can do that, you probably get quicker than me anyways.
Well, because I have my,
Just so I can put something to it.
so if you're looking at the first one, it's 1.
500,112.
Yep.
What a 8 salary.
You know, it's funny. I think the past couple of years, I've actually gone through the budget and written expecting that question, guys, and I did not do it.
There is, I feel like I always ask.
Yeah, we,
And I think that's why I always have it, but this year I forgot to do it. Sorry, Tony.
I did it last night at the select board meeting every time.
yeah, because it's important to know how many people are doing
One,
what.
or is it five?
Yeah.
5 divided by,
Let's hope that's not 1 or 5.
2 million divided by 5. Wow.
Let me do some small counting here.
Yeah, well, if you can just, is Friday okay or tomorrow night?
Yeah, whatever, it's on, I can.
31. There's 31 in that one. Your reading salary is 1. Your guidance salary is 2, and your media salary is 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then you have your middle school team leader. That is, I don't remember how many people. Is it 6? 6.
What's that, like a $15 stipend?
Middle school co-curricular salary, so that's basically taking everybody and move them up a step on that co-curricular scale. We don't know where people are going for 24, 25, so I'm taking the 24, 25 budget and moved everybody up a step. Then you have your summer school and your middle school nurse salary, and then your middle school nurse aide a little bit further down. Your middle school secretary salary.
That was electrical car. Yep, it's on.
I thought it was just a strong agreement in what Marjorie was saying.
Can I yell back?
And auctions and auctions.
Exactly.
Middle school secretary, that's 3. We decided to, having conversations during the budget process, we decided to add back in the middle school 6th period stipend, salary. For the fact that if we did that, then maybe that would cut down on the substitute teacher salary lines. If we could pay them to do that, then to fill in for a class.
I'm confused.
I think we did that last year, right?
So, we've been down case managers.
Yep.
So they've been getting that 6 period stipend to pick up the slack because we're down.
So a case manager help out with
Yep. So basically the work.
taking.
We can't do it any other way here because they all teach, but basically for special ed teachers, we're down. They cover that class.
And we have how many special education teachers currently at the middle school?
We are full now.
How many do we have currently?
Oh, boy.
1 per grade, plus we have connections. The RAM room was supposed to be,
Said, but we,
yeah, so I said we have 7.
Yeah.
7 budgeted for, yes.
Thank you.
Two,
So just to back up. Trying to get it from my head. So we've got at 10% of the lowest step is what we give for a 6 period stipend.
I thought it was 45.
What's that?
What was that 45?
It's 45.
$45 per covering.
For 6 period by contract, it's kind of the lowest step, which is what this is calculated to, 76.50.
I thought we,
Oh, yep.
I just want to make
Okay,
in my head, that's what we're doing, and
Yep.
thank you. I'm all set.
principal salary. So that's the principal. So it's 2 people, Tony. And then, so I just want to bring up, so last year, what I've always done for the substitute salaries, and again, this was done prior to me, they've always done a 3-year actual. So last year when I did the 3-year actual, the board was like, oh, we're fully staffed, let's bring that down to 80. So I brought that down to 80 for fiscal year 24, 25. But I do want you guys to take a look at the actuals for 23, 24. It's $134,000. 22, 23 with $137,000.
What are the actuals for this year?
We don't know, we're not at
Yeah, we are.
in October.
We've got actuals is 53.25 for the first 22 days of the school year.
Okay,
And that equal 42,842 over 177. So my question is do we really need 130 something? And I'll double the number for you and we're at 84.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't, for me, I just don't see us needing, unless we know somebody's gonna be out, and I know that's not realistic. 8 months to 22 months, whatever it works out to be the math out. So that's my concern. I would suggest we need to look at reducing that to something significantly less than the 122, but we'll have to have that discussion. Go
Do we
ahead, Tony.
have those numbers, John?
I'll give them to you. Yeah, just let Tony
Didn't
know.
we, somewhere in here, adjust that substitute salary? Like, would that explain one of these increases? I feel like, was it 22, 23?
I'm not sure what you're
Last
asking.
year.
That was,
That's why it's an even
we
80,000.
didn't do it before that either.
And even if we did, Tony, the lines be, you, like this one,
Yeah.
it's all actuals.
Right.
So regardless of what we did,
Well, I'm
we gotta
saying
live with
that,
whatever it is.
we could have had the same amount from 21, 22 to 22, 23, but if we raised the rate. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to make sense of that.
Well, Marjorie's concern was 23, 24 to 134. And we went to 80, hoping because we thought we are gonna be fully staffed, and we're pretty close to that.
And you were saying we're at 50.
No, what I said, well, I'll give you the numbers because Steve asked for me. I took the $5,325 and divided it by 22, which is the days we've had up to September 30th. Did the simple math. And what is that per day at 22? So 53.25 divided by 22 multiplied by 177 equals 42,842. And there's probably some rounding that, so there might be $1 or $2 off, but. And that's all I'm asking is I just wanted to get
But that's the amount through the end of September.
this 53, yeah, and that's why I just calculated out for the whole year. Now,
Okay,
granted,
just sort of it made
it's not flu season, it's not all these other things.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but my point being, it's significant higher than the pace we're on right now. And I for one, will ask to have that line reduced, but we're not there yet. Go ahead.
Do you know, or do you have a sense of I know we have the actuals in front of us. Do you have any clue what was budgeted versus what we
I
spent?
just pulled it up.
Oh, look at you.
So for 24, what was budgeted was $79,507.
Hmm.
23 was $69,144.
So for 22, 23, we budgeted 69,144, but we spent 137,284. And then,
And for 22, we budgeted 75,225.
So does that include also that if we were paying teachers that were covering for substitutes, that 137 includes that?
So one of the things I did want to do here, but I haven't adjusted yet, I haven't been able to get there this year, is we were talking about separating out, like para substitutes, teacher substitutes versus nurse substitutes. We already break out food service and custodian. So I was trying to get like a gauge. And that's what I used to do at my last district. So I could kind of figure out budget, where those different lines were coming from.
Are you looking for a yay and a to do that?
No. I think I can do it. I just need the time to do it. Unless I need your approval, but I don't think I do.
Mhm.
Well, in this case, I would think we'd want to weigh in just because when we're looking at this, I'm all for it. But I'm just saying that I think it's important that if we're going to change what we see anyways, I would think the board would weigh in. That's all.
I think.
You don't think so, Terry?
Detail is better.
No, I agree, yeah. I just, any objections to at some point Marjorie breaking those out in her spare time? When that is,
I gotta do it for each school. So I gotta create like.
So as soon as we get that clone created, the two
Yeah.
of you guys get on it.
Christmas vacation's coming up.
It's a pretty quiet time.
a rocking time.
Mhm.
So your reports would look different if I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are all okay with it,
Appears so.
thank you. So then that rounds up the salaries and then pages 3, 4, and 5 are the benefits that correspond to all of those salaries. And in case you didn't know, the teacher, the retirement rates, those changed. The non-teacher retirement rates went from 13.53
13.53?
to 12.65.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, they decrease.
Okay, I just thought you were giving me the 13.5. This is what it's going to be. I told you I can't hit a curveball. She's just doing it to laugh at me, I think. So it's 12 what?
12.75.
And is that current or is that next year?
That will be next year for 25, 26, and that will be covered through 26, 27. So it's a 2-year.
Selfish, I'm only worried about next year.
And then the teachers went from 2102 to 19.23.
Sorry, I
Thank
missed,
you.
what are we, what are they now?
Retirement?
Oh, how, the rate at which they're retiring, is that the percentage?
We have to pay 12.75 for non-teachers into their retirement fund and then teachers.
12.75% of their current salary.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
And no, that's all good. And then the teachers, it's 19.23%.
Okay.
Turn it over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Marjorie.
At the bottom of page 5. Thank you.
Up at the top, page 6.
I have a question on page 5. I'm assuming officials and the referees have just prices have gone up. I'm assuming it's as simple as that, Tom?
Probably.
It's a dangerous gig nowadays.
Athletic director, but,
Right, thank you.
yes. There's no changes to the principal admin conference. Changes to contracted development services. The assemblies line, I remember we talked about this last year, because this year we cut it from the budget. Part of that was just trying to, do some pennies and save money. We were able to supplement it because we had grants that we could use to bring people in. But those grants are going away for next year. And so maybe a grant will pop up that we can tap into, but I would like the ability to, bring some kind of assembly or workshop or something for the students. So we did recycled percussion last year. We had a couple of other people come in. And we've been talking with our behavioral health team who we're bringing for this year. That is one thing that I think would benefit the students. For repairs are a little bit less than the previous year. For the lease rental, that's almost the same, a little bit less than the previous year.
That's for the copiers.
Now I'm looking at the top of page 7. So student transportation. So middle school athletic buses, we're still putting money in that line item, even knowing that there's not enough buses or drivers to go around. So if we don't use it, because no bus, we can't use it. But optimism, maybe the bus companies fully staffed and have to be able to bring back buses for athletic transportation.
How many years have we gone without it at the middle school, in essence?
Well, when I look at this, I know last year we had money budgeted, but I don't.
No, I understand that. But in essence, we haven't had it for a number of years. Correct, Aaron?
Oh, before I got here.
COVID hit and then, yeah. Well, and the reason I ask is if we don't anticipate it, do we need to fully budget it at 11,000? Would it make sense to be less than that? Now you're running a risk, but I don't know how much of a risk it is because we're struggling to get buses to transportate us, our students, just to get them to school.
But I mean, right now, to be honest with you, athletic wise too, we're struggling, high school wise too. They're People are quitting.
Yep.
Sick. We're struggling again.
I didn't see the buses getting better anytime.
Were you saying the other day how we're finally fully bussed
For,
just to pick up a drop off?
yes, for athletics, it's becoming, we've got 4 different vendors, and it's Jeremy's on the phone nonstop, just trying to find transportation.
And that's because there's nobody willing to drive.
At the rates they're getting provided, right?
That's through the bus company though.
No, absolutely.
We don't control
No, absolutely.
We're using multiple vendors. We're not just using Dale. We're using, per student, we're using, anytime, events
Any events?
and whatever it's called. Yeah, one of them. So Jeremy is
With a Z, not an S.
constantly calling to arrange it.
They like the party.
Weekends, good. Say that, weekends were good, but after school is tough.
Yeah, that was sort of a sneaky way of getting it out on, into the open. I've had a lot of questions from folks about that. And so, I just want folks that it's not something we can control. We have the budget. People are not willing to do the driving.
I do want to add too, that, when we did talk about this budget originally, it was at $12,000. I moved $1,000 down to the bottom of that page to cover for reimbursement for people, for like coaches and stuff like that are traveling to games that we should reimburse them for if they're using their own vehicle.
They're using their own car.
And then the next line item might influence this line item. The other one is middle school field trip transportation. You can see there's a big increase. And the majority of that is because we put in tentatively the cost of the buses for the DC trip, which are about $10,000. So that was a conversation, to look to try to offset the cost of the trip overall. So that's something that is related to this debate on.
That's total, I assume, for all the
Yeah, so all the middle school field trip buses are pretty similar each year, and so we can budget for them. But new in this year, or I guess for next year, is that the request is that we include the cost of the 2 buses for the 8th grade trip to DC.
So we haven't done it in the past, and this is something, who's requesting this?
The 8th grade team, the 8th grade advisor.
and that will offset the cost for families, I assume.
No, that's not till the end of the year, right? When do they have?
Yeah, April, May.
So in theory, if that athletic bus money doesn't get spent, you could just kick it down the line. Is that the bulk of the cost of that trip is the bus?
I think it's probably
No.
50-50.
It's a lot less.
Yeah,
The
that-
trip was like $80,000 or $90,000.
Yeah, and the bus transportation is $9,850.
Do you remember what you as a family paid, Joe?
It's like 8 something.
Or what?
You know, it was last year. I can't remember.
Okay, no, I just,
I think it was like 800.
you're the closest I've got to somebody there.
It was initially like a little over $900. We were able to reduce it a little bit with the company, and then through fundraising, we took about $250 off across the board. So families probably had to be on the hook for about $500.
Do you have a question, Joe?
Yeah, I know the candy bars went up from $1 to $2. Are we making more money now? I mean, hopefully the kids sell just as many candy bars. We'll see. I mean, I'm gonna guess they did that because people probably ain't buying 20 candy bars and it's $2. They're buying 10 candy bars. They're probably buying as many candy bars as they feel like they want anyhow, and it's just $2 now. Are we getting more
Candy bars are
reimbursement?
Twice as big, so there's really not much of a change in profit. And instead of a box of 60, we're getting a box of 30. So you still get $60 per box, but just a little bit less packaging. Really, there's not going to be much of a difference there.
When did I sell those? When they start selling those? Now?
Oh, yeah, sell them all the way until like
I get hit
the
up.
month before the trip.
Oh, I forgot my wallet. Sorry.
Look at me. Do I look like I need another candy bar?
Yeah, they usually have them inside the middle school Front office there too, if anybody.
I haven't seen them anywhere on Black Box.
I haven't seen him yet. Whatever.
Usually.
I saw a cake there today. I didn't see a candy bar.
Election day coming.
Tell them that.
Candy bars out there.
School. Hopefully that means they're listening to me.
Put them at the concession stand at the election.
Yeah.
Raffle Mini did pretty good doing that last year.
Oh, yeah.
Good, Tom.
So the next one is middle school communications. That one was the one that Matt and Marjorie talked about. I'm like, we're gonna try to explore some ways to reduce that, but right now that's the cost.
Crazy.
Yes. Postage fees is pretty similar. Middle school.
What-
office
what-
printing.
On the postage, and I know it's a small amount, but is there anything that we don't have to mail out, or is it everything that is mandated to mail out that we're doing?
We're becoming more and more paperless.
Oh, I understand, but
Yeah.
it's still going up.
There are still some things that we send out. So some of the beginning of the year stuff, we mail, there's, correspondence for things like anytime we do fully investigations, we send letters for like lunch account balances. We send that every month. So we do send stuff out. We try to keep it as.
All right, thank you.
Printing and binding is almost the same.
What are we printing and binding? Because it's significantly gone up over actuals, so.
That's a good question. So Marjorie, is this for a contracted service or is this for something that we do?
And I'll look it up and tell you. That is. Sorry, all it says is printing for office. Agendas for fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. LUGI envelopes and bus passes. I don't know what LUGI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the acronym?
LUGI.
Just gonna spell it, but we don't know how to spell it.
You
Yeah.
spelled it because I didn't want to say it.
That's Mario's brother. That's what that is.
Well, I thought it was Luigi at first, but it's not. It's.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the fourth and fifth grade teams still like the agendas. They talk about how it really helps the students stay on track with their organization. But I could look into the other stuff because
Well, so this is like,
the envelopes even are.
sorry, Tom, this is stuff we give to the kids.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. The bus passes are for students.
When you said agenda, I thought it was just for the adults at first.
No, kids.
Yeah, the kids.
The only thing, do you have the forever envelope? Do you guys have those? I'm wondering if that's somehow what it means. No, we have like a regular envelope and it stamps at the top middle school and then it actually already has the prepaid postage on it. It has the stamp,
Forever stamp.
the forever stamp, we print them.
I guess Tom hasn't really inspected his envelopes recently.
I might have bigger fish to fry.
It could be in a, take by 11. Okay. And going down, middle school athletics travel, that's for the mileage reimbursement. On page 8. Middle supplies. A lot of these stayed similar. Our supplies is reduced a little bit. About $75. Language arts supplies is reduced by about $940. We have $300 for general health. For the health class. We have budgeted a little extra for the SCS tax supplies. That's about $2,000 increase. I think that's mostly due to groceries increase because groceries throughout the year. Full bath supplies. Supplies down 50. Our middle school science supplies That's increased to 1,300. So it was 7,494. Social studies supplies went up from $800 to 2,317. Tech ed supplies reduced a little bit to 550. Our general ed supplies are based on our per pupil costs, so that's always the same last year.
What was the per pupil cost, please?
I made a mistake.
Okay.
I caught it while I'm looking at Munis compared to the Excel spreadsheet. The cost per pupil was $51 even. But when I entered it, I made a transposition error. It should have been 21,675.
So 21,625.
675. 21,6, yeah, it's $505. Yeah.
675 versus 165.
So it's I didn't know what to do, so I subtracted it from units, but I wanted to bring it up.
We'll have to collect it, right? I mean,
Page 8.
if you look at the biggest number on the right-hand column, you found it.
21,675.
Sorry.
Wrote it down.
Billable reading supplies, $60,840. Athletic supplies, increased $400 to $6,800. Ag supplies increased $284 to $787. Nurse supplies remains the same as $1,800. Our bills and media supplies remain the same as last year, $616. And middle school office supplies, same as last year at $3,000.
Before you go on, if board doesn't object, Tom. Don't need to go through all the lines, just the ones that you want to highlight. And like I said, if there's something significant you want to talk about, does that work for everybody? I don't think we need every line. Thank you. Get you out here a little sooner.
I'll bring up the,
Yes, so the next one, the material is almost the same as the previous year, but the biggest difference here is that we budgeted about $5,600 for Spanish. So that's not based on like a particular curriculum or program that we had found. But the plan is that because right now my Spanish teacher is starting from scratch. But connecting her with the high school Spanish teacher so that we could kind of compare curriculum, some resources, but she's kind of finding things online and she's just kind of grabbing different resources. So what I'd like to do is get her more comprehensive curriculum, perhaps a set of books or something. So this is just a number that we can kind of set aside to encumber, knowing that we'll probably adjust it once we get the actual budget.
And remind me again, receiving foreign language right now?
Right now it's so 5 possible sections, four sections are taking Spanish and one section is taking additional reading support.
Thank you.
That brings us to the top of page 9. Look at our periodicals, almost exactly the same as the previous year. When we go down to the software and see an increase of about $4,500. So when I look at that, we get between $4,000 and $5,000 for library databases. 2,000 of that is for mystery science, for 5th grade. And then the other grades have all, as we get into a more digital world, they find different online programs like Gizmo and BrainPop and vocab, agencies, WordWall. Those are just different softwares that the teachers are using to supplement their instruction.
And each of those softwares, any of them new for next year or prices just went up?
None of them are new for next year. The library databases, some of them are new this year.
Okay.
And one of the things that I asked my librarian, she says each month she can get usage. That's statistics. So we can see which ones are being used and which ones aren't, and if they're not being used, then cut them. Helps compares.
Have we got that data
But
to justify what we're doing?
Well, I'd probably get September. Yeah, because it's just started this year with some of these databases.
All right, thank you. So I didn't see that.
With Spanish, I know in the past you had to have a certain grade. Seventh grade English class to get into Spanish class. Are we still doing that, or are we opening that to everybody?
Well, I wouldn't say it's based on grades, but it is based on data. So they use both the iReady and the SAS data to identify their struggling readers. And if they're really scoring multiple grade levels below what is they're expecting, then it's not really appropriate to start introducing a new language, but really you need to get kind of foundational skills of that primary language. So it's less on grades and more based on like assessment data.
Thank you.
For the media center or MS, says media periodical.
Understood.
Is that what would, oh, middle school, okay.
Yep.
Would that be in the library that you have there?
That's for the whole school. So I'd say about 5,000 is coming from the library and the rest is coming from the whole. Fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, they all have different subscriptions, they
Oh,
are beneficial. And so, yeah, they.
has subscriptions, it's not actual.
Go ahead, Tony.
So going back, all the available data here, it looks like we haven't spent a lot of money on like, is that supplies and a while, so if I'm doing all that stuff, or like, you don't need, there's nothing that was appropriating a lot of money towards like just basic stuff. Tech ed, like Facebook, all that stuff, supplies, it's all pretty low. Is that stuff that you just,
So probably does, no one's advocating saying that they need more. If they did, I would work with that. Our tech ed teacher was out last year, so this year, all of her material that there, a lot of it's software based, so she has these kits, like STEM kits, that as long as she doesn't lose them or break them, then they're gonna be good year after year. Last year, we invested in a sound system in the gym, but as far as equipment goes, most of that stuff is still properly designed. And really,
adding
as long as they're being careful with that.
that word, like you had a middle school full of children and then,
That parts are very different. So we all get parts, let's get lost, let's get in the woods, let's get yeah, so every year we have to replace the recess cuts.
Plus the fact that I'll be hanging on the rim when I don't.
oh my God, only replaced so many backboards. Quite like the band and everything, because I know we sat here, I don't know what, 2 years ago and to find out that the downstairs and the, I don't know what they call it now, the light field, I don't want to call it the wrong thing. They're sharing pots and pans and stuff. It's like, well, I didn't even mention this. Well, now, like, what the heck? So I just want to make sure that we're not in a situation like that where I do the thing is that nobody wants to say it or for whatever reason. But we're good.
Ask for it, I'll try to work with them and bring it here. There really wasn't a lot that I was like, that's ridiculous, what I need to change that. That's people. They're pretty reasonable when they know what to ask for.
Let's do.
And maybe I should have asked it earlier, but in here to Tony's point about the phys ed class this morning, where are the numbers for like the sports teams, equipment and stuff like that? Is that under general ed?
Athletics.
Athletic supplies? So if you look at that on page 8.
Supplies.
I was looking at that line, but I just looked over at the 500, 610 list and there's an MS athletic supplies. Is that sports equipment for the teams?
So that wouldn't be equipment, that would just be supplies. And then that same first number, the 11420022. That would, if you wanted to see that, that would be on, trying to see, I don't see anything.
I don't think we're gonna have
I
any.
don't see anything there for new equipment or new furniture and fixtures, but if you go to page 10, there's a line there for MS athletic replace equipment.
Going your thunder, Tom. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous that that's zero.
Yeah.
I know we need to start looking at uniforms.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
hold on.
So my question was, do we have money budgeted for uniforms or?
The middle school, I'm not sure.
High school.
High school.
That's where I'm
High
getting
school.
confused. We did it at the high
High school,
school.
we got a pretty sound rotation. I'm not saying we need to. I just think we take a look at, is it?
Yeah.
So Tom, if you could reach out to Jeremy, just to have him take a look to see if there's any concerns with uniforms. And then
Nothing see through.
have it, yeah, every 3 years, the cycle and
Outdated.
No one needs a split pants situation.
yeah, we're at the high school, very good
So,
place now. I just don't know about the middle school.
Didn't we just get a bunch of new,
The high school's done a nice job. I mean, from everywhere I've seen, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're looking good. And then my first try, I was like, to John, I was like, appalled. That the see-through uniforms and everything is really bad.
I don't know what's going on. Go ahead, Cindy.
How about the art supplies? Do you know what is in that request? That's gone up. I know that last year there were things that they requested and we kind of put them off a little bit.
This year, art supplies is about $1,000, and that's a combination of the crayons, clay, pencil sharpener, markers, the latest kit for things that we film. Postage markers, paint, color paper, oil pastel set, the movie consumables.
And those flake parts, that's what I remember.
I know. I was wondering if maybe that was in there.
Now, we gotta submit, like,
Did they request the display card or is it a different, it's a different person?
In person.
Same person? She didn't go for it.
I guess I do have the same question I asked before, but on music supplies, I sort of answer too.
There's not a lot of,
I assume we provide musical instruments for
If you're in band,
their rent or own. They have, I think they have keyboards and
Yeah.
for music and guitars.
Some marching band stuff. We could have one. Yeah. So just kind of hanging out with the band right now.
Now, we're
it's that,
not, we're still on page 9.
we were on, I jumped over. it.
No, I just-
Yeah. Use that as really. So we got the top of page 10.
I have questions on 9, that's why I was. I just, I would say I want, let's get back to where we were, so. Under, new equipment, 507.31. Middle school new equipment, general, we've got 1792. And obviously significant increase from previous years. What is this thing that we need to replace? Or buy new? If I'm looking for big tickets, if it's big tickets or it's a bunch of small little things,
how often do you request I add this to the budget so we can have fire resistant drape panels for decorating the cafeteria for school dances?
That was the 8th grade.
The class advisors for 8th grade have
doing what? We're decorating what?
Fire resistant drapes for the gym for when they do events.
$1,700, I thought.
Poly Premier's fire retardant drape panel. It's going to be used by other grades for dances as well.
What do you do?
I don't,
But I'll get that,
Yeah, but what's functions? What are they?
all over that, who's going to complain that?
The purpose of these?
So my understanding is like here for some of the dances, cover the walls with like curtains or dark. They'll paper it.
Yeah.
The line.
Mood.
Yes, to set the mood, right? However, pointed out that could be a little.
Could get no trouble.
So there he has a. So that we can budget for flame resistant fire retardant.
How much is that for?
That's 1792.
That's all that costs. How many dentists do we have per year?
I just said so.
Is that cafeteria printed?
Cafeteria. Oh, that's,
I would imagine it would have to be.
Well, some schools aren't. I want to make sure.
Yeah.
But the old section, who knows,
Everything is sprinkled that needs to be sprinkled.
Yeah, that's all
you
you
want.
want. It's sprinkled. It's decorative. That's what it is. It's safely decorative.
Safely.
I assume that's essentially a once in a while purchase.
Once we purchase these, so it's maintain that.
Hopefully that will last.
It does.
What do we think? Yeah.
Unless I catch on fire.
How many go overpay?
Then we'll have to replace the entire room.
So now then the students would like decorate these drapes, so put things on them.
because then you're gonna mess up the flame retardants.
I think I'm sure they're a beautiful color,
Yeah, the color.
Probably gray.
but it's beautiful. Maybe great for you, Terry. Question on the bottom, new fixtures, 507.33. It went down. We've been spending the last few years up, over close to over 4,000 ballpark. And now we're at 224. We're all good with new furniture and fixtures in the middle school.
I think of furniture and fixtures, I'm thinking mostly tables, chairs and desks.
Yep.
And we are in good shape. Actually, we've shuffled things around. Some of the grant money that we got, last year, we were able to buy like sensory tables and chairs, things like that. So we're actually for all that stuff.
Thank you.
Page 10. So they're really looking at all kinds of them. The biggest budget driver here was the main office replacement. Actually, we cut some of this. The 3,000 of that is supposed to be the replacement for 2 Larritas. But we are in the process of getting that, so we should.
You saved the district 3,000.
So that'll be 14.
I don't know.
That's 1425 on my math. Yours.
I was feeling guilty, Pat, not complaining.
We're not looking at refrigerator and the teacher. Right, start to go.
It smell?
Well, it does. The same smell, but then it's. But we're not gonna last too much.
Yeah, play the ice every day.
Go ahead, Tony.
So I see you have all these, replace, funds. And then there's just middle school, there's equipment. What would that cover? Is that like an umbrella cover?
The one below it, so middle school replacement.
Yeah, that's just kind of a generic middle school replace equipment. Everything else is, tech ed, science, music, but that one it just says replace equipment.
Yeah.
Is that just,
That
to cover everything or?
Well, there's nothing budgeted for next year for that. But yeah, that would probably be just a generic if it didn't fall under a particular department.
So that would just be like gen ed. Like general ed. You're talking about the 970?
No, I mean, like you said, it's not budgeted this year. I just was wondering why we had that line.
Yeah, previous years.
Sorry, because I was looking down below where it said the same thing, but it was replace. Furniture. Replace furniture, because those would have been like similar lines.
How much, what kind of refrigerator is in the teacher's room? Is it like a regular size?
Lights with the.
Need 2,000 or 3,000 for that or what? Just the regular refrigerator?
Yep.
So what are you saying that is a request, but that's not on here, right?
It is up here.
It is on here.
Under municipal replacement furniture, that 970,
Oh,
that's where that, that's basically budgeting for an $840, free of the fund.
So you're getting for $800 nowadays.
yeah.
Like one of those little ones.
One on display.
But they don't have huge one, do they? I mean, it's like.
Oh, I mean, it's 50 people there. Look at the
That's
stuff in it.
true.
It's the one that the teacher firm, they like right on that.
I mean, you don't want to store stuff in there, you just want to put it in.
Some of the teachers, conference rooms upstairs, they don't have to go all the way down. But we usually, the not people.
We don't want the teachers getting food poisoning because the food got too.
No, but I'm just, it's not like at home where you're gonna keep a lot of stuff in it for a while.
I think it's, it'll be lunch boxes.
Mostly just like for the day.
Coffee that's right next to it. Times, you know, we have special events that we use it. But it's such a different, water turtle.
But you have one in mind for that price?
Well, I have my secretary do some scouring. She gave me a couple of different things, you know, that all the time. Standard to fancy.
Flash with the fire retardant. So he's got a nice fellowship grade going.
Color, what is it, what?
Anything else you want to mention about the budget, Tom? Any comments for the budget part? You can go over your, just got it today. The enrollment, what you're projecting for next year.
Oh. Last slide is based on. So the fourth grade next year with that class size between 16 and 19. 92 students. 17 students with guide. Fifth grade. 5 teachers, 83 students in the class. Class size would be between 16 and 17. Special ed chief of 19. For the 6th grade, we're looking at 5 teachers for 93 students. Between 18 and 19 per class. And the special ed case on 17. 7th grade, they would have 84 students with 5 teachers. You'd be looking at between 16 and 17 students on average per class. With special ed case level 16. The 8th grade has 73 students, or they will next year. 4 teachers, that would be between 18 and 19 students. The class, the special ed case of 12. We look at our unified arts, because we have more unified arts teachers than we do general ed teachers per grade. Class size is a little smaller, so we're looking at for most grade between 12 and 13 per grade for 8th grade next year, because it's a smaller class between 10 and 11. And then with an asterisk next to 5th grade, because those class sizes depend on how many students sign up for band. So if we get a ton of students that sign up for band, that means there'll be smaller class sizes for everybody else.
Questions or comments about the projected class sizes? I won't fail you, I've got a few. UA teachers, this comes up, I mean, just about every year, about UA and, oh, we got such a low enrollment. And I know what you said, which was we have more UAs than full-blown teachers, so you have to have less than, you can't just take a block of 18 or whatever it is. So my question is, all the UAs, are we required by state requirements to have each UA that we have currently?
Right, state requirements. I think that they'll-
They're a minimum requirement.
Health, FCS,
that's the other side.
is, minimum standards. That's just that a workshop too, but we don't have that. But this is, I'm just, I'm like,
The thing is, it's prior to, anyways, I think the new changes, I don't know if it's been impacted yet.
I don't know if that, I don't.
Because they did some,
It's gotta go through the legislature's gotta vote on that.
I know, but it's still,
I know.
They haven't even voted on the subject yet, I guess.
yeah, it's weird.
Just, I guess we wait and they list them all, but,
Well, I can list all the UAs. We've got FCS, health, TV, art, music, computers. I get. Six and seven. Library is only, because they don't have health now, but they get someone to.
so the only one on there might be tech ed, because you're double dipping with computers and tech ed. You might find a way to find those two.
And we've got a couple grades, fifth and seventh, that in theory we could reduce. Because it's, it's not meeting the requirements, the fifth grade. Because they have all their students, they don't have to differentiate like the seventh grade has ELA teacher, math teacher. That would be a little easy to do. My question on seventh grade, if we were to do it, what would we? Would it be the learning lab? It would go
And what if we can reduce a
seventh grade teacher, yeah.
grade? Yeah, I would keep all the academics in it.
And then in fourth grade and sixth grade, we're above by a little bit. Would it make sense to take one from each of those grades and move them over if we can? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
I don't know what you mean by take one and move them over.
For example, we have too many in my mind because the policy is 22 in fifth grade. And you divide 83 into 20, or 22 into 83, and it's less than 18. So we could reduce a teacher in fifth grade and still you'd have four times 22 is 88. One over to fourth grade. Then you're below the 88. Everybody following?
Say, reduce the fifth grade teacher,
Make up
To the fourth grade.
they would have 6 teachers.
Yes.
Because again, we're trying to prevent. You had 5. Wait a minute. Am I doing, no, I'm sorry, that's not right. Because fourth grade can be 22.
Well, the other question I would have on the losing a fifth, not losing, but moving a fifth.
No, I wouldn't.
There
I
is-
made the mistake. You don't need to move them. In my mind, you would reduce, but go ahead.
So we have fourth and fifth grade kids on loops. So we would have a group of kids who would have to be separated. And
I don't know. Yeah, you would we would take 5 classes currently and make them for next year.
so
I'm sorry.
that's okay. So, but with fourth grade being as high as it is next year, the following year, fifth grade will be that same size. So right now, for next year, the projected class size for fourth grade is 92.
Yep.
Right now, fifth grade is at 83 for next year. So if we reduce a fifth grade teacher next year, then the following year, when you're going to need to bring another fifth grade teacher back, because there'll be 92 kids who were fourth who will now be fifth.
No, all 5 fourth grade teachers would move up with them.
Do we have any sense of what the third grade class is in the elementary school?
I'm just looking at year we're talking about, not years down the road.
My
Because
concern,
if we do, we would just move back, we would add back.
well, my concern is if we lose a teacher that we have,
Yep.
it's going to be hard to bring another teacher back in.
You just move it. No. I
No, he
spoke.
He misspoke. Now he's talking about reducing a.
I would reduce, in my mind, the fifth grade. And we would like to have the conversation about the seventh grade in a minute, but obviously we're not doing it yet, but I would just, is there any reason that we would have to have 5 teachers in science and in seventh grade, Tom, other than the learning lab?
Under the cap, you'd be looking at around 20 to 21.
Under the 22.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking, your classes, are there any issues that would say, ooh, we wouldn't want to do it for that class? Yeah, I'm waiting for Tom's response.
Other than, I think that there's value in a learning lab, but other than that, there's no like glaring.
Go ahead, Jim.
That learning lab, could that be a math lab or? And we're looking at. We wanted to increase our high school math. Instructional time to add another credit for math. I can't see why we wanna, because we're having difficulties in math in high school. I don't know why we would cut something that we could make a math lab in seventh grade. So those kids are caught up, so when they get into high school, they get where they need to be.
For me, I'm just concerned because what is it? What we have in front of us, without just what was originally presented, is an increase of over $1 million or approximately 75 cents per 1,000. And then we've got other things that we need. And my concern is that we can ask for all we want, but getting it is another thing because the voters have a way of saying when they think it's too much, no. So I'm looking at where we can reduce and be able to pass budgets and not get defaults and or lose other articles.
I understand where you're coming with that. My only point is if we can't sit there and say we need to learn more math in high school, which by the time you get to high school, you're either doing okay at math or you're not. We're kind of taking away that opportunity in the seventh grade.
So Tom, did you say that math learning lab is exclusively math?
No, so we made the 6th grade lab exclusively math. But if we,
Okay.
because right now, the 7th grade team this year is only a 4-person team. And the 8th grade team is a 5-person team. As that small bubble of 73 students moves from 7th grade to 8th grade,
Yep.
we would flex an 8th grade teacher down to the 7th grade.
But
Essentially,
Right, but it's not a math lab.
no, it's not anything. It's
So
just,
I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from, Joe. You're talking about a math lab.
Well, I
and-
think could it be a math lab? It can be. I mean, it's nothing right now. Then
Because it could be.
Yeah.
Could it be a basket weaving?
Do we have
No.
Do we have a minimum number? I know we keep talking about the maximum number of students we can put in a classroom.
In high school only do we have a minimum.
A minimum?
Right, so I understand what you're saying, and I understand the drive. I have a couple
No,
of
there's-
questions.
Other than
there-
like Joe said, this high school and the policy goes on talking about minimums in high school, but not in the lower grades.
So while 16, 17 is lower, it's not crazy.
Well, the thing is just saving money with.
Right, and this is I know we're gonna have a bigger conversation whenever we get to the actual
Yeah.
reviews of it, right? But the reason I asked the questions is, I prefer a more balanced approach of education first, budget second, where we have to be prudent with what we're doing. So I understand where you're coming from, John. I do. We went through this last year, but I'm always leery to cut a teacher first. I know it's an easy, big number to the budget, but I'm always leery to cut teachers. If we,
You all sat down there, Joe?
sorry.
Okay, I thought there was a movement and right. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I agree with Steve where I don't always like to reduce the number of staff, plus people don't like it when we reduce staff to pay for other things. In my experience, talking with people, they don't really like when that happens. But again, you know, like Steve said, that's when we're working with the budget, really, that's the only way to make significant reductions is through personnel.
When you think
I mean,
about it,
it's-
the salary and benefits is like 67% of the budget. so-
Right, and we sat here for hours and chipped away $40,000 off a budget. It's like, why do we just sit here for 4 hours doing that?
Yeah.
But it's,
Citizens expect, us to look at it hard, right?
right,
I will say that being at the New Hampshire School Board Association, and one of the school board members did a whole chart, like last 10 years of, increases and stuff like that. And what he noticed was that the increases for general education went up lower than the average, increases that throughout the United States, where the average for special education went up like 250% or something like that, some ridiculous amount.
Is that in New Hampshire versus the rest
It
of
was his district. It was
It's his district? Wow.
which I think that would hold true.
That
across the
would be,
board.
yeah.
Transportation alone.
Yeah, that's killing us.
Anything else, Tom? All right, next up.
Tom.
Curriculum. Thanks, Tom. Have a good night.
Nothing has changed with the salaries. Mentor program, that is staying the same tune as budget 10,000 last year. This year's 10. Social Security and all that is stayed the change, turns into page 2. Any questions on page 1? Page 2, retirement really can't touch. Contracted services 0. We're still keeping the curriculum at 125. Right now, we're looking at a math curriculum for grades 6, 7, and 8. We're also looking at math and science curriculum at the high school. We haven't got final numbers on that yet. And we cut $15,000 from Pete's budget for books. We put it in this curriculum line here because that's where that money should be coming from if they want specific books. So that's 15,000 of that curriculum line right now for books from Pete.
Well, I was just gonna say, while we're doing that, last I heard about high school books, they were still referencing Soviet Union. And do we replace those books?
Working on that. It's math and science first.
Okay.
Well,
It might be-
social studies is online.
We might have somebody living in that country that thinks it's coming back.
Well,
it does.
I hear you. Yeah, we'll be ahead of the game.
Yeah, you had said math for 6th, 7th, and 8th,
Correct.
and you mentioned high school, and I wasn't able to get it down fast enough.
And science programs. We're taking,
Math and science? So you're trying to do that in the 125?
yeah, I don't know if we'll get there, but we're trying to.
Mean you might be at 50?
I would hope.
All right, thank you, Terry.
Oh, I have a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So for the math program, are you looking at like a whole new curriculum or what are we
Yes.
doing? Are you required to do like the Common Core?
Yes.
You are required for that.
Yep.
We are.
On the SAS test. We have to take the SAS and that's what the SAS is based on.
So nobody's nobody's like figured out that that's why we're going down in our math scores.
I couldn't. I gotta talk.
I mean, we're going down in our math scores,
Yep.
but we keep doing the same thing.
Yep.
Can we deviate from that?
Huh?
No, we can't deviate, right?
No, I just have to do what they tell me to do, so.
So
And
whatever
facts.
we buy is still gonna be Common Core. I thought there was some motion getting away from that.
I don't think so.
No, not real world.
No.
but in the other worlds, yes, but not in this world. Okay. I think it's a lot of money to spend on something that's not gonna work, but how much is gonna go towards math itself?
I don't know. That's a good chunk of it.
What evidence do we have to support that it doesn't work?
The math scores have been going down for years.
Yep.
So is it that, the truth is that we had, you know, a generation ago, people were getting a basic concept of math. Now we are behind.
But you're making an assumption that it's
Within the
because,
generation, within the last 2 generations, ask anybody who, my mom had a better math than the kids are getting nowadays.
I can't deny that maybe scores are going down, but you're making an assumption it's because Common Core doesn't work when it could be any number of factors like social media and kids aren't paying attention to math and they're doing other stuff. It could be
Right.
any number of factors. To say that you think Common Core isn't working because our score is going down is a pretty big assumption.
I went to college for math education, so I studied math education.
Well, reading scores are down and
And
that
I've
hasn't
been
changed.
in all different situations.
I'm not doubting what you're saying.
Success.
So I can tell you this is a great statistics example that as the number of ice cream sales increase, so do the number of sexual assaults. But to say that ice cream sales affect sexual assault is not correct. It's a 1-to-1 correlation, but it's because it's summer and heat and people dress in less and it prompts more. It's a classical statistical correlation. Why you don't go by correlation? Correlation does not imply causation. So yes, Common Core is still going. Yes, scores might be going down, but to assume that it's because one affected the other, it's a pretty broad assumption. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's a really big assumption to make to say that Common Core is the reason why we don't really have much of a choice. To Terry's point, we have to do it, but to say it's not working because of Common Core, I don't know. I've never heard any statistics or any evidence to support that. So
That's because nobody wants to really give the evidence.
sorry, I didn't mean to freak you out with my example.
Did you know this?
This is what I saw. You were like, oh no, what is this? So I apologize. And I apologize. That wasn't meant to offend. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead, Joe.
So the National Center for Educational Statistics actually reads that 1971 reading scores went from 208, they're now at 215 as of 2022. 2020 was the high, 220. Math scores went from 219, they had 2022, they were at 234, they had a high of 245 in 2013, they were 241 in 2020.
And these are national?
Based on what?
I'm gonna guess what it's the National Center for, I'm gonna guess whatever people use or whatever states
But
use.
from
for their-
everything I've heard is that the tests are changing to accommodate lower understanding.
Not, I can tell you that, not in New Hampshire, not in New England. I think we have the third, I'm just gonna say, we have the fifth toughest test. I could be even higher than that. I'm just gonna round it.
Well, he's
Massa-
doing a national thing.
Yeah, Massachusetts is first. And we are in the top 10 in math scores in the country. We do the, oh my God, what test is it called? We have to do it every other year.
NEAP?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we score, New Hampshire scores very well. Very well.
And yet they keep coming back to us every other year.
Title I, I found that out. I fussed it. Because we are Title I school. We have.
Okay, I've known it. All right.
It's one of those things.
We want to talk about curriculum coordinator / grant writer now?
We can,
Well, it's under curriculum.
Yep.
So
initiatives. I presented an initiative.
Wait, where is that?
in the beginning of the book, there are initiatives of a tab.
Oh, perfect.
And I'm-
Thank you.
Gonna slip mine into.
Oh, wait. Is this an additional page for that?
That's a different one. That's,
Oh.
Jody will cover that tomorrow night. That's the secretary for services, right?
Thank you, sir.
Where's the?
Initiative, Cindy.
I just want to double check because every year it seems to change. Are the initiatives in the budget already or not in the budget?
Not.
Okay.
They're not. This is one of those things that we have no one doing any curriculum work. The principals right now are given a stipend. Joanne gets it at the high school. Tom and Bridget split it at the middle school and Amy gets it at the elementary school. And to be honest with you, not a lot of that work is happening due to the fact that they are dealing with issues all day long. To sit down and actually plan out the curriculum. You have no one to sit with teachers and work on instruction. We have no one to sit down and Cindy, look at the Common Core standards to make sure we are teaching them and we're teaching them with fidelity. We have no one to go through the schools. We do, but it's not done on a consistent basis. It's like iReady, are we having individuals get in those classrooms enough to ensure that all these programs are done with fidelity so that we know that the programs are being initiated so that students are making the gains that the programs claim they should be making. Currently, Sam is doing some grant management, but the grant writing piece, we have nobody to sit down and say, all right, this is what we want to do for, there's this grant out there for, math instruction. We could bring somebody in to work with our teachers. We have no one that could secure that grant. I actually wrote Title I this year. And Sam and Jody and I wrote Title II. That took up a little bit of our time and energy to get that done. So that's kind of where we're at. It's just, and actually that salary could probably drop 90, shouldn't be 90 because we can take 15 of it off.
Well, my question would be, is 90 enough?
220-day contract. I wouldn't want to, most curriculum coordinators.
If they're doing grant though, shouldn't they be doing it into the summer at least?
I think if we did like the principals and the deans are 220, they do work a month out of the summer. So while they not as much as an assistant or full-time as the principal, they're here quite a bit during the summer too. That's just my thought process.
Joe, do you remember if the curriculum coordinators were full-time? When I say full-time, 260?
The last one I believe was full-time.
I'm just trying to remember
Yeah.
because I don't want to,
No,
if we do it, I don't want to shortchange it.
I am trying to save money because if you do somebody that's 260, then the salaries get up there. That's where my thought process.
I just want to make sure if we're going to do it, we do it with,
What John, in my mind too is, and this is just me, if it doesn't work at 220, we might have to increase their salary, make it work 260. And if they don't like it, we'll go find somebody that will.
I'm just thinking the ability to get somebody that is worth what we are looking for.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
I'm again, right, wrong or different. The odds of us hiring somebody who has done it are slim because of who we are and what we can pay. So that's part of, I realize that too. We're a training ground so that we're going to get somebody in here and then we treat them with culture and climate, Steve, and they want to stay. But to get somebody in here to get started, this is my thought process. I'm also trying to be real and not lie to you. That's, we are who we are. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, we get them in here and they're like, hey, this is a good place to work. And then sometimes that extra money doesn't mean as much as people being taken care of. And that's been my mantra constantly,
I got Joe Steve and then Joe.
What are we paying for the stipends now?
15,000.
Total for everybody?
No, 5,000 a person.
Yes.
5,000 a
So
building.
total, yes.
Yes, but $5,000.
Okay. So,
In essence, what he said is it would be 75.
right, because you take the 50
And
off
then
the top.
the
Okay.
benefits would be reduced by whatever that is too.
Okay. So current's 15. Okay. That was it. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay. Anything else on curriculum coordinator / grant?
Got some.
Oh, I know. I just want to make sure
No, but-
Joe's got something and then anybody else. Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, this is one of those things we thought would be good for the future, obviously. I'll admit when I'm wrong, hasn't quite worked out the way we expected it to. And that's what happened.
We needed that money for other things. And we couldn't fill a position, so we eliminated it.
Go ahead. Did you have something, Cindy?
Yeah, I was just asking, like, say you hire for this year, will the person, like, how much do you think they would, obviously it's variable, but what do you think they would bring in? Like, it would probably, you pay them for next year, the money probably wouldn't come in until the next.
The grant writing?
Oh, yeah, the grant writing would take a year or two,
So
I
what
would-
do you think you're looking at for grants? Like,
Well, they would take over what we have now. And the idea being we'd get more grants because we have somebody that is more dedicated than what we have now. And that's no slight on anybody here. It's just their focus right now isn't necessarily grant writing.
Yeah,
But I'm
seeking
just
out these
asking
grants
like
to
how
apply
much you're
for it.
looking at.
Oh, I couldn't, I,
Like 15,000,
Because
100,000,
you guys have done it, right?
million.
not a million, not a million, but
It's,
I could see grants of 25 to 50,000.
It depends how ambitious they are.
well.
Well,
So you pay
Um,
90,000 for 50,000.
Yeah, but they're also.
No.
it's not their salary. It's not offsetting their salary. Those grants would be used to help.
Right, I
Like,
know,
like,
but
I mean, I'm not trying to, the high school, we had a conversation at the strategic planning meeting and we were talking about how an essay is graded. And I brought up 6 traits of writing and the last time, and I'm not, nobody's fault, the last time the writing department, even if they used it, if they don't, when was the last time they sat down and said, as a, how to grade an essay? They all sat down and said, this is how we're going to grade an essay as a high school. It's nobody's fault. But, typically if you use the 6 traits of writing, you're looking at voice, context, message and all that. I can't remember it all, but so that's the workshop. So we would be able to write a grant to somebody to come in to pay for that, to work with the teachers, say 4 workshops or 4 times to come in and meet with the teachers. And so that all those teachers would be grading an essay the same way. There's still some variable essays, as we say, there's some, what I want to say, subjectivity when we grade writing, but it would be more refined.
I think what she's getting at is, are we gonna be paying this guy 90,000 to only bring in 30, 40,
Yeah.
50?
Yeah.
But that's not his
because you
primary
could pay,
objective.
if you bring in 30,000 for that special class, you pay the 30,000, you're done. But here you're paying 90,000 to get the 30,000 to
That's
get the
not
class.
his only job.
Well,
He's not just writing grants,
Right.
he's also
Correct.
the curriculum coordinator, which is a huge
Right,
thing.
undertaking.
But the grant writing would be a side piece to that job. I would-
correct.
Like,
Tony's right. It wouldn't be just that.
So,
Go ahead, Steve.
and I don't know if you thought about this way, but like, so yourself and all the principals are doing this job now.
I'm not doing as much of it as the principals are, but
Building.
even then, it's
But-
kind of funny.
It's not being done with
So-
fidelity, man.
That's right. It's not being done as
So-
well as it should be being.
No, and that's fine, but
And
what
it's no
I'm,
reflection on
Nope.
people. It's just
so,
time is,
so what I'm trying to drill over to though is we pay you to do your job, we pay them to do their job, and now you're doing this other job. So there's a cost for you per hour. There's a cost for them per hour to do a different job. So yes, you could say, we'll save 15 on the stipends and it's 75 on the night, but it's really more than that because then you get back your time, the principals get back their time. The fidelity is there, the consistency is there, the extra grants could possibly be there. But we get your time back to what you should be doing and what they should be doing.
And I get, I cannot tell you how nervous I am when I'm writing these grants, and submitting these grants and saying okay to these grants, that actually we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Because that's a big undertaking too, to know, surveys need to go out. Amy's good at it we got to have a Title I parent night. Oh, not something that I've done in
Right.
20 years. I did it a little bit in Nottingham, but we had somebody running the Title I grant. So Dick Jenish took that over and, I showed up, shook some hands, kissed some babies, and we had a great Title I night, but it's not something that I'm doing enough to be familiar with.
Yeah,
at some
but we're
point-
just getting more value back. That's all I'm saying. We're getting that value back as well.
good, Tony.
I'm just wondering at some point are these grants worth the trouble, some of them, like. where you
Sometime.
have to report and you have to do all this extra stuff for, unless it's a decent amount of money, it's
I'm
worth it.
I am cautious too in what grants we apply for, because it's like, okay, when the grant goes away, how do we keep it going?
Right.
How do we continue? And I think, we just had Title IV. We had some science program that was bought out of Title IV years ago. And what work we had to do to continue that, I was like, I don't even think we're using the science curriculum anymore. So I had to try to explain that to the state. This was done 4 years ago. I have no record of it. I know Mike Hatfield was trying to find a record of it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So we had to go back. I think Ron and I sat down and tried to sit down and figure this out so that we crossed our I's and dotted our T's. But it was a undertaking from Mike and in my first year too, to make that happen.
If you mess up on grants, that's not a good thing.
No, it's
You don't
not.
want that, Yeah. Kind of makes it harder to get them in the future.
Go ahead, Marjorie.
So as to what Terry's saying, they do come in about once a year and they do fiscal monitoring and they come in and they find things wrong. Certain things, we didn't we didn't document something as well as we should have and stuff like that. So then, you know, then it comes into, we have to do a,
Remediation.
corrective action plan. So then we have to do that. We have to make all those changes. When I first came in, you guys were having this conversation. I did look up the previous curriculum coordinator's information. So he was making about $86,000 a year, and that was for fiscal year 21, and he was 261. Basically.
So 21 is 2021?
2021, I think that's when he left.
Okay, you know what I mean?
And he
The fiscal year is 2020,
20,
21.
2020, 21, yes.
Okay, we're saying the same thing, frog and fraud.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So that person was making that much. What were the benefits of having that person? Did it feel like this was, the job was being done and we were good about it? I guess you can't, can you say?
You were here, Joe, but I can speak to it if you don't. I mean, I mean, prior coordinators, because I can't speak to that year, because I wasn't present for that year, but
I mean, you would come in, you could do trainings and like the curriculum, at the beginning of the year, so all the teachers are on the same page about this, all we're supposed to do. The grant writing, I mean, actually, I think we got a pretty decent sized grant when he was here. I mean, we've had grants up over $100,000, you know.
I mean, wasn't the special ed grant a new one that somebody stumbled on last year?
One of the grantees, but I don't.
Didn't we got a check last year from special ed? Wasn't that a grant?
no, that's, yeah.
Can't stop
Special
again.
education.
Also, the curriculum coordinator would take some of the responsibilities from Terry, because there's a lot of professional development activities that person could coordinate. And Terry doesn't have to worry about that part. And then,
Yeah.
and there's some things like that. There's alignment, vertical alignment that person would be responsible for.
Scope and sequence.
All those
Better too.
educational terms that I understand vertical alignment and other things, but in the big picture, those are the things that that person would be doing or that position did, not necessarily that person, but that position over the last number of years. So
It's kind of funny, but I brought this up at the last admin meeting. I looked around the room and Sam, who does a really nice job. Well, she's behavior health. So most of our PD always has been behavior health. And I looked at it and said, oh no, everybody pump the brakes. These last couple ones have to be curriculum because nobody was in the room advocating for it.
Right.
Sam was advocating for, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this. And we do. I'm not denying it.
he will.
I was like, okay, stop. And I looked at the principals and I said, hey, we need to talk about vertical alignment. We need to talk about, oh my goodness, I know the time, but, teaching classes, differentiated instruction, we
Mm.
needed all that stuff. We need to sit down and say, hold on, we got to make sure we cover this too, so that we're doing this.
And
And
all
that's
those,
not even talking about common assessments, sitting down with teachers in grades, 1, 2, and 3. Where are you when I ready? What has been a success? What hasn't been a success? Why are you on chapter 6 and you're on chapter 3? And I'm exaggerating, but why are you, all right, if you're on chapter 6, what are your scores like? How did you get to chapter 6 and the students are doing really well while you're still only in chapter 3? So how can we help you to ensure that we get through the whole curriculum?
go ahead, Tony.
So one, I think for me, that would be the major benefit would be to help with the alignment where that's, been a focus and historically, I don't want to say an issue, but it's been a challenge. So I think that would be a significant benefit to that position. But also what I was wondering was, would it be the curriculum coordinator's job to go around, like I said, and help the teachers implement these? And
I was just going to mention that. Tony.
Absolutely.
so, like,
Yeah.
again, so another
Absolutely.
step and layer to make sure that everybody's
Mhm.
all on the same page.
They would be in those PLC meetings, running those meetings to talk about,
And for people at home, professional learning community.
professional learning communities where they're sitting down with third grade and they're talking about math that day. Where are we at? They're sitting down in the high school and they're talking about, English or science. Where are we at? What needs to be done? How can we make sure that we are more effective and reaching every kid too?
Go ahead.
So the $90,000 of salary, what's the projected cost with benefits?
I was gonna ask, if we could get that,
Yeah, I had that on.
is it all right tomorrow night?
I just saw it. I'm adding it up and calculating it right now.
Do you want it tonight or can we wait for
I could wait. I mean, it's-
tomorrow night? Good, Marjorie?
I can give it to you in 30, like 10 seconds.
Cause I was trying to adjourn.
Be about 140. That's with a two-person plan. About 140,000 for.
Park, if you, when you get a chance, if you could get that fine tuned, because that's what we're gonna have to put here. But I would also say the proposed cost is 140 minus
15.
the 15 plus their benefits, right? Isn't that how we normally would do it, Joe?
Yeah.
In the sense that,
Clean it up.
if you could, you all set, Tony? Yeah, okay. All right. I think anybody else have anything else that needs to be brought up? Otherwise, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, I have-
Are we?
Well, what did I forget?
Been done.
Expenditures.
Sorry.
I,
I was thinking for tonight, all night curriculum's last, but go ahead.
uh,
Go ahead, Steve, you have a question or comment?
yeah, it's on the cover letter.
Right.
I suppose I can ask it a different time. It's about the trash and recycling thing.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, talk about it.
We're gonna come back tomorrow.
All right. You doing it or Terry doing it, Marjorie?
I got it.
All right. Thank you. Catching me on that.
School board and treasurer salary remain the same. Salaries right below that have been, adjusted to what they currently are, as well as what they are going down the page. I'm gonna stop here, so if you wanna,
What's that?
you said, I think before the meeting started, something about wage.
I didn't, but I would like to discuss the superintendent's salary for 25-26. It needs to be 147,500.
That is,
And then you obviously those other things need to be connected.
yes.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Saw some nervousness in Terry's
That was
eyes.
before we knew about it. I got that information kind of late.
Oh, that's fine.
District-wide severance payout, that is a 4-year average. As you can see, 23, 24, we did not spend anything. Nothing for SAU substitutes. The health insurance stipend and the RES stipends are based on the current staffing levels that.
Can you throw page numbers?
Yeah, could we-
Sorry.
All right, I'm on page
Two.
2.
Thank you.
All right.
I
That's
find it on
right.
page 1 and I'm not having success.
So I stopped about halfway down the page.
Okay,
So health insurance stipends and the RESS stipends
okay.
based on current staffing levels. REA personal time buyback, that's a 3-year average.
Wait a minute. Could I have? Oh, never mind. I'm all set. I'll ask it at a different time.
Okay. SAU finance overtime, so my staff is hourly, and we do go through periods where they need to, work overtime, such as we have late hires coming in at the beginning of the year, we have to get them on for payroll. There's a lot of stuff that has to be reconciled at that point. And then we also have our calendar year-end processes that we have to do. Maybe I'll just stop. Page 3, the health insurances, those are current staffing levels as well, dental, life, and then disability.
I have a question. Food service director, can we put that as 2-person?
I could,
Well, isn't that what we would normally do unknown?
we do,
Okay.
but I had prepared this before.
No, that's fine.
And then we might adjust it depending on hopefully who we hire.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would, if we know numbers, then let's put the known numbers in, right?
And then that is not anywhere else. That would then affect the food service budget. So I'll go back and adjust that. Disability, social security and retirement on page 4. And then all the way to page 5 is where we wrap up, retirements. REA course tuitions, that's remain the same for the CBA, as well as REA's workshop reimbursement for 25,000 and the RESS workshop for 7,000 right below that. District-wide unemployment, we've actually been getting a credit for this, so we haven't had to pay anything. However, I believe I clicked the button when I just did our filing with Primex, and I think now we might be getting charged for that, so I left that there for now because I'm not sure if I just took full credit or if I said, hey, give us back the money instead of taking the credit. So that one's kind of up in the air. Any questions on page 5? Page 6, workers' compensation. We've actually already paid the bill for 2025, so I adjusted that for 3% over what our current invoice was, what we paid.
I don't understand. So we paid our workers' comp for 25, 26 or the calendar year?
25.
Okay, thank
I
you.
know what we paid for this year, so now I'm just.
That's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Flexible spending account remains the same. We have savings account, expense account that was built into the CBA as well for the RESS. So that actually zeroes out the 25-26 school year. So that's why that was zero. You have everything the same for the P6. Professional development exceptions, so those are for like opening PD days and district-wide training days that we have from that line. Other services, so we have our audit and our legal, and then other services for that as well as recruitment and expense services. Architect engineering services, we leave $1 there. SME maintenance contract. That is the software that we have as yesterday. Page 8, the SAU government rules, that's our copier. Regular ed transportation, that is according to our contract. Liability insurance, again, I paid for fiscal year 25, so it's a 3% CPI over what we just paid. Listening communications, that's what we talked about when Matt was here, that he's researching those lines for us and seeing if we can have other options. Postage remain the same.
I do have a question about the communication now. I mean, the three schools are gonna be like, it don't have as many, as much copper.
Right, we don't have any lines.
That's as simple as that. Okay, thank you. Because it didn't go up much.
It's
On average, it's probably in close to average. It's
like,
okay,
I'm still hoping with those expenses, I'm still hoping maybe we can drop it.
thank you.
Advertising, I increased by $5,000 because we have been spending a lot more, especially when it comes to Indeed. So obviously, we're trying to put different avenues to advertising to get people. I increased the service at the bottom a little bit, you can see 2374, you know, a lot more expenses, and basically the cost of our supplies have gone up, so just take our envelopes of that. After down the page, we have the fees. The school board of the SAU and the finance. Student receivables and then the state. That interest at the bottom of page 10 and that principal at the top of page 11, those are according to our bonds bills. And this will be the last year for those. And then the transfer of food service and also $100,000.
Questions, comments, Marjorie? All right. Thank you, Marjorie. You're about to call set, right? I don't want to skip anybody, any, okay. Get a motion. Do you have anything you want to add before we adjourn? See you tomorrow. The motion to adjourn. So moved. Second by all those in favor?
Yeah, they were saying over so. I need to, I think, they're having on meeting tonight as opposed